All right, welcome everyone to Aptera Owners Club. We just had our ambassadors meeting this morning, and there was a bunch of stuff that I'll summarize in a follow-up video. But I think the most interesting part to everyone will be the Q&A session at the end. So I've edited that part out, and here it is. The first question was regarding the timeline for the production, and the question was is whether the production timeline was based on everything going perfectly, or if there was some leeway in the timing, and if there was enough funding to make it to production.
That is a multifaceted question. Thank you. Um, Production timing is such that we want to deliver our first vehicle by the end of this year. Obviously, we have our own internal deadlines that are somewhat more aggressive and do give us a bit of wiggle room. But basically, we need to have a tidied up design by the end of this summer to line up the supply chain to make that happen. Right now, the suppliers are working very nicely with us. We've signed some significant strategic supply agreements that really help that in the last few months, but then we have to kick them off. Companies are embedding engineers with us here in San Diego. We're sending engineers to their facilities. We're trading data, all those things that need to happen to, bring on our new supply chain over the next few months. But realistically, we have to hustle and, build our team to accomplish these things and have things line up nicely to have kind of a vehicle design by the end of the summer so we can do validation and then have our suppliers ready to start delivering us parts. I would say in terms of the Paradigm Edition, it seems to be more and more that it's going to be driven by our battery pack selection and design. Our first battery pack is to build a 40 kilowatt hour pack that is amazing and does everything we need it to do. Then the second pack we want to build is a 25 kilowatt hour pack, then the 60, then the 100 kilowatt hour pack. So in terms of delivery sequence, we have those Paradigm orders. Everybody that ordered a Paradigm Edition, you're in line, but we think we will deliver the 40 kilowatt hour first and then the 25 kilowatt hour second. So if you want your vehicles early in 2023, I would probably think about mentally repositioning your order and then actually repositioning your order when we start to announce kind of delivery dates. If a Paradigm Edition, you're first in line, so you just need to go and change your order to whatever those is. But we don't have enough information to tell you exactly. Also, the battery packs may be a little different size, so we've been saying 40 kilowatt hours, but it may be 41 or maybe 38. We don't know yet because we're still, Luke and his team is working on the battery packs, and in the next few months they'll come to us and say, Chris, it's 39.3, and this is how far it'll take you, and then we can start to tell you guys what that actually is. So.
Okay. Great answer. I think that probably answered a lot of people's questions. Appreciate that. All right, Ozman, you're up next.
Kind of follow up on that. During the investors the webinar, you mentioned the order of production on that. Are we saying you're going to produce all of the 40 kilowatt hour ones before we move on to somebody else? So somebody ordering today would be before somebody who orders a 25?
Yeah.
Awesome. No, we will just start bringing the 40 kilowatt hour pack, and that will be in production, and then we'll introduce a 25 kilowatt hour pack, and then we'll be building both the 40 and the 25 kilowatt hour pack on the same line. So then it will be kind of by order. So every vehicle that's rolling down our assembly line, one may be a 40, one may be a 25, one may be a 60, but we'll just have more options available to the assembly line.
So eventually,
yeah,
all four would be coming out at the same time, being produced.
Yep. And just a quick clarifying point on that too. Our team is going to be reaching out to everyone, starting with our Paradigm owners, and we'll be contacting you, letting you know kind of the whole details on what's coming when, and giving you an opportunity to adjust as needed. So rest assured, you'll be hearing from us personally over the next couple of months as it gets closer to time for production. Okay, Jose.
I had a question about the charging. My understanding is it's going to be a CCS port, and the CCS3 standard calls for bidirectional charging. Are you planning to make it V2G capable?
We are trying to make it V2G capable, but it's a supply chain issue. We are still evaluating several different charging technologies and trying to decide which one we want to go with. I wish that we had a better answer, but we thought we were getting close a couple months ago, and then a bunch of monkey wrenches got thrown in. There are still standards that we really like and really want to include in the Aptera, but it has been more difficult to run them fully to ground. We will have to have a decision by the summer, so we'll let you know then. I think bidirectional charging isn't absolutely necessary. I think we could have two charge plugs. One is for grid connectivity and one is for regular charging. So I think that would suit people's needs quite nicely. I wish that somebody had adopted a standard that was in use, but there doesn't seem to be a standard any bigger automotive company is using for bidirectional charging. It just doesn't exist yet.
15118-20 is supposed to publish this month, for what it's worth.
Yeah, we wish that the SAE could not only release standards but also make people use them. Unfortunately, they get the standards out and that's great, but unless commercial will adopt them, if they aren't used, then they aren't commoditized. And if we can't buy a charge plug for less than $200, then we're not going to spend $3,000 on a charge plug because they only build 2,000 here, right? Like a J1772 is in production. Tesla's supercharger plug is in production. Those things are commoditized. CCS is in production. So I think those are kind of the realm that we're existing in, probably.
CCS is supposed to be bidirectional. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you so much for your question. Before we move on to Raj, Chris, maybe you can clarify. I'm seeing a lot of questions in the chat here just regarding international and kind of how that plays in with Paradigm. We do have some international customers who have Paradigm. So can you give us any updates on timing or kind of process for that? Is that going to be 2023 or probably closer to 2024? Any thoughts on that?
Obviously, the first vehicles we want to deliver, we want them as close to home as possible because we want to take care of those people as best we can. And if there is any hiccups in the beginning, we want to keep those vehicles on the road as much as possible. But we do hope to deliver internationally as quick as possible too. So we're not creating any kind of arbitrary, we don't want to ship overseas. We want to ship to the world, as soon as we can. Unfortunately, some people will be in places where government regulations prohibit us from shipping things right away without a ton of paperwork. Some places are relatively easy. We're a motorcycle, so that does make it easy for a lot of parts of the world. A lot of parts of Europe, if you ship under 1,000 vehicles a year, it's pretty easy. But some places are just a pain in the ass, no doubt about it. So it'll be kind of on a case-by-case basis, and we'll have to let you know closer to your time of production and when you get your delivery slots.
Great. Thank you. Okay, Raj.
Just a quick question about the side mirrors. I noticed on the beta, it looks like it might be the new side mirrors they have to do for regulatory. Are those being designed in a way that if the digital cameras are acceptable in the US, can that mirror be easily removed to reduce the drag later?
That's a good question. We cannot comment on how users might adapt their vehicles in the future once in the field. But the FMVSS has pretty strict requirements for it, and they're telling us we need 10 square inches of reflective material on each side of the vehicle. So we're putting 10 square inches of reflective material on each side of the vehicle.
Great. Thanks, Raj. Orlando.
Can you hear me?
We
Yes, sir.
can.
Hello? Oh, okay. I'm really impressed with the composite body and the whole thing with the safety integrity of the body. And you've even said it's 7 times stronger than steel. So my question is, could you please speak to crash testing? For example, I researched there's different entities. It could be the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. It could be the Institute folk. What's your timeline for crash testing? And if so, when would you folks be releasing video of the crash test? That's what I'm really looking forward to.
We will. We want to make the safest Aptera possible. In previous FMVSS FMVSS test, we had the highest roof crush strength of any passenger car on the road. We will go through those tests again. Most of them are FMVSS related. They'll be carried out by a third-party testing agency. We'll take the vehicle to that agency. We'll do the test. We'll record it. We'll let you guys know how it goes. But more importantly, it's for internal data use. We have all these computer simulations that show us how our composite structures and crush structures will perform in those FMVSS tests, and the tests really just calibrate our simulations. And if our simulations perfectly correlate to the actual test, then we know that if we make changes to the vehicle and re-simulate, then it should act the same. So really that's what they're mostly for, but the byproduct is we get videos that we can show people to say, okay, look, this is how it slams against a wall, this is how the roof gets crushed, this is how side, pole stuff works, and people can go, okay, I feel that the Aptera is safe and I can drive it and I can,
Great.
So you'll be
Thanks,
crash testing the
Orlando.
Gamma vehicles, I'm assuming.
It will probably be some, we don't really know if Gamma is going to exist, kind of betas slamming into Gamma and Delta, and they're all kind of becoming the same thing. The true intent of Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta is just by Delta, we want 98% production parts in that vehicle. So it really doesn't matter what we call them, it's just the amount of production content that is in each one, and the pre-production Deltas need to have substantially complete production parts. So that's probably what we will put against the wall.
Awesome. Thanks, bro.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Orlando.
Orlando.
Sai? Go for it.
So my name is C, so I wasn't really responding
Sorry,
to calling my name. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I was wondering, you're saying about the right to repair. One of the most expensive things that can happen to an EV is that there's something wrong with the battery, like one or two cells are faulty. I see a lot of EVs being for sale for like a few $1,000s, and they're completely fine, but the battery's dead. Is there something in the battery design that lets us change out a battery cell if there's something faulty? How are you approaching right to repair for the battery?
Yeah, I come from the battery world. There's some feedback there. I come from the battery world. I have my company, Flux Power, took public a few years ago. I've been to more battery factories than I hate to admit to over the years. And I've seen great strides in battery technologies over the last few years. I think when you think about problem electric vehicles that had one or two cells go bad, those are vehicles that were built 5, 6, more years ago. Today's batteries are terribly consistent in terms of quality, and we're really building our battery packs as kind of monolithic units. If something goes bad in the battery pack, it will need to be sent back for depot service. And this is not unique to Aptera. This is something that the whole industry is going to look at. Tesla's battery day. Tesla's making it into a structural pack. That's one big monolithic block of batteries, bro. That's just how it is. And if one of those batteries goes bad, then the whole block gets changed out. And that will be the same with Aptera. So we try to make it very modular and easy to pull that pack. The great thing about the Aptera is the packs aren't as huge as other electric vehicles. We only use a quarter of the power. So that means you have a quarter of the battery pack to go the same distance. That means it's a quarter of the weight. So if you try to pull a battery pack and send it back to somebody, it's not this huge monstrosity of a battery pack that a lot of other vehicles would use. I mean, the battery pack in the Ford Lightning pickup truck weighs more than the whole Aptera. So you try pulling that battery pack and sending it somewhere, and it's going to be a big old pain in the ass. So we hope that our strategy is a sound one. It's not uncommon, but yeah, you aren't going to be able to pluck one battery out and change it out. The pack is going to be a monolith pack.
And warranty on the battery pack?
I'm sorry?
The warranty on the battery pack, do you know what it will be?
We have not. We're still kind of determining what the battery pack will be, and that's a lot of the supply chain. What will the battery supplier, the cell supplier, warranty the cell to, and then it kind of transfers to us. So we probably won't announce warranty details till right before production. So probably later this year.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Keith. Okay, Keith, well, we have time for maybe one or two more questions if you guys are quick, so go for it.
Okay. What I'm thinking of is like the safety features like auto headlights, things of that nature, red light detection, auto braking. Will the Aptera have those?
Yeah, we're working on a lot of advanced kind of safety pilot, autopilot features right now. The traditional level 2, 2.5 ADAS features are top of mind. The lane keep, the adaptive cruise control, the automatic emergency braking. We haven't really stretched past that because we want to get to our start of production as quick as possible. So we kind of narrowed the scope on that early on. We think all those features are on the table, but the systems are getting better every day, and the supply chain partners that we're working with that sell those components are getting better at it every day. So we think get regular ADAS features incorporated for start of production, and then towards the end of this year we can shift our engineering focus to adding more features to that. But those are kind of the big ones that we want: lane keep, adaptive cruise control, automatic emergency braking.
Can some of the other features be a firmware download later on in the future?
Possibly. It depends on if you had to add new hardware, right? So if a better camera system is needed to visually judge things, then it may need to be a hardware upgrade too. We're trying to get everything to be future proof, but I don't have a solid answer for how future proof it'll be. Yep.
Okay.
Thanks, Keith.
We're going to go a couple more. Chris has generously offered to give us another 5 or 10 minutes. So we'll just go through a few more here. Thank you so much. I know everyone loves to hear from you, and there's a long line of people with their hands raised. So we really appreciate having your participation on the call. Okay, Bob.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. Aptera gets a lot of buzz about being a solar powered vehicle. And I'm wondering how you're setting expectations. So you say up to 40 miles per day, for example, with the full solar pack. And so I'm wondering if people are going to have higher expectations than can be delivered on average for people who don't live in San Diego. And so, obviously, you wouldn't want to multiply 40 by 365 even in San Diego because we don't have the solar production in the winter. Yeah. So I'm just wondering, how do you set expectations so you don't disappoint?
Yeah, I have this conversation with investors all the time, and more investor conversations than customer conversations. But they're looking at the business holistically and the product holistically, so the answers get more nuanced. What I typically tell people when we're presenting to them is we show the map, and we say most of the people in the world live in these sunny places, so they get lots of sun. They're happy with it. There are people that live in colder places and drearier places like Seattle or Ireland. But surprisingly, they still get a lot of sun too. And in the winter, they don't get a lot of sun because their hours are so short in northern latitudes. But in the summer, they have even longer hours, so they actually do get a lot of sun. So I kind of bracket the ranges that are on our website, which is in dreary places, you get about 8,000 miles of free solar charging a year. And in sunnier places, you can get over 10,000 miles of solar charging a year. But that delta between the dreary places in Seattle and Southern California, that's not a lot. It's only 20%. No. So I think people think that they live in a dreary place and like, oh crap, this solar thing won't work. That's 8,000 miles of free charging a year. That's pretty darn good, I think. And if you look at kind of average commutes in Europe, that's more than the average driver drives a year. In the States, we're up over 11,000 miles, so that's a little different in the States. But, for a lot of the people in the world, 8,000 miles is cha-ching. That's great. I only have to charge maybe once or twice a year. In the States, maybe you have to charge, once every 3 months. That's a lot better than having to, plug your electric vehicle into a 220 50 amp outlet every night to put power back in it. So I also explain to people that the solar is kind of like a trickle charger. The best way to explain it is the solar is just a trickle charger that trickle charges your battery throughout the day. It adds 40 miles of free fuel to your battery pack, and if you only drive 40 miles a day, you never have to plug it in. If you drive more than 40 miles, it takes a little bit out of your battery pack, and you'll have to plug it in every once in a while. But really think of the solar charger as a trickle charger that just trickle charges your battery pack. Because people get very confused if they don't know anything about EV. You're like, oh, I can only drive 40 miles a day. Oh, you have a battery pack? Oh, but it's hard for people that don't know about electric vehicles to equate what's in your battery pack versus what your solar is producing. And I find telling them that it's like a trickle charger, it just very slowly charges your battery pack, it kind of clicks and they go, oh, okay, I get it. I get it. It's like charging my cell phone in. Okay, I get it.
Okay, thanks.
Right.
Great answer.
Thanks, Bob. Okay, Bob Cunningham.
Oh, Bob and Bob.
Bob and Bob.
The Bob and Bob show.
Yeah, take it away.
Just a quick question. I think marketing perception. I would love the Paradigm Edition to be the most efficient Aptera, but unfortunately, the 250 being lighter will be more efficient unless we go to LFP in the 250, and which will be good for a smaller battery having more charge cycles. Any thoughts about eventually the 250 being LFP?
We've talked about LFP. We're working with LFP suppliers right now. My other company, Flux Power, is exclusively LFP. I know the chemistry well. It works well. I think there are other players in the EV world, Tesla most notably, that are exploring LFP, for production battery packs. The problem is, no matter how you shake it, LFP is less energy dense. So you could argue at the system level, maybe it's only 15 or 20% less energy dense, but at the cell level, it's more like 30% less energy dense. So we want to have the most efficient vehicle platform on the road. Giving up 30% energy density in the battery pack doesn't really jive with that too.
I just thought it would make the Paradigm Edition look better.
Yeah, I mean, it'll probably be a supply chain thing where, if LFP is easier to acquire at a cheaper rate, then we could go to our ambassadors and say, hey, if we had this LFP option, it was $2,000 cheaper. It has a bit better safety factors that of interest to you. But those conversations are ongoing. Those will take, through the summer. But thanks, Bob.
Okay.
Thanks.
Perfect. Yes. Go. We're ready for you.
Oh, great.
Oh.
Oh, cool. Thank you for taking my question, Chris and Sarah.
Good to see you.
Yeah, after so many years, finally be able to meet you. Very cool. I'd say I'm a little bit worried about, getting the Aptera into Europe, especially because I am from Holland. So I read a lot about homologation, and mostly the width of the Aptera is maybe problematic. Are you not underestimating the probable difficulties to get the Aptera here and to get it into customers' hands on this side?
I see all kinds of weird, crazy sports cars in your part of the world, and they figure out how to get those guys in the country in batches. That they built 100 of them. There is a bit of paperwork on some of that stuff, but I don't have any fear for parts of Europe. I think it's a relatively straightforward process. There's other countries like Japan that may be more sticky because they have a lot of kind of local regulations and a lot, they love paperwork. So, I don't think that in your part of the world, in the Netherlands, the Holland, north of you guys, I think all of those places are relatively EV friendly. So, we get kind of a wink and a nod because, hey, solar powered electric transportation, we want this in our country. So I think, people to help us where they might not help a V12 sports car type program. So sure. I think, we have lots of great people like are on this call, and that will happen. It'll just take time. So towards the end of this year, once we have production dates and we know that we're ready to ship your vehicle in 3 weeks, then we can start to put a pin in a lot of that stuff. But it is ongoing now. We do have people in those areas kind of researching, what paperwork is it going to take, what has to happen. Shipping a dozen vehicles is relatively easy. Shipping 1,500 gets a lot harder. So in the beginning, it'll be easy, but if you have ordered like 5,000, it may get harder as we grow. We're trying to co-locate a factory in your part of the world, so we build vehicles there and ship vehicles in the EU, so then we don't have to deal with hardly any restrictions or taxes. So.
All right, thank
Cool,
you.
thank you.
Maybe time for 1 or 2 more questions. Juan?
Thank you, Sarah. Hi, Chris. Have 2 questions actually, but I'm gonna be quick. The first one, I will go back to the battery pack, and I want to know if is Aptera intending to get the battery packs only from Flux Power, or are you working with other manufacturers to get different chemistries, or are you set on just one single chemistry? The second question will be related to that one as well, and is relating to agreements with other EV manufacturers, be it for parts or charging networks. Are you working something like that?
We are designing our own battery pack. It is not in collaboration with Flux Power. It's our own battery pack that we developed from the ground up. A new battery management system, new battery architecture, new bonding methodologies, new packing. I mean, we're trying to make the most energy dense battery pack the world's ever seen. Right. What was the second part of the question?
Parts with other agreements for parts.
We do have ongoing conversations for parts supplies from various different sources, and conversations for charging network access. Those things have taken a lot longer than I had hoped they would, but as our business model gets more steam and as we have, stronger balance sheet because we're raising more money and get closer to production, I think us Apterans will seem less risky to those strategic partners. Right now in the infancy, before we have kind of a completed design and a manufacturing plant that looks like it's ready to spit out vehicles, I think a lot of these big companies look at us and just see risk. So as we get closer to the end of the year here, I think it'll be a lot risky, and we'll be able to hopefully find those collaborations easier to form.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Juan. Mike.
Hi, Chris and Sarah. So both of my Model 3s have had damage in the past year, and Sentry has been crucial in seeing exactly what happened. Is there any plan to have something like that?
There is.
All right. Thanks. Okay, let's see if we can get through a couple more. Then Len.
Yeah, hi, Chris. Just wanted to see if there was any update on the off-road package. Being that you're at beta, if there's a suspension adjustment, just wondering if there's any update on that.
The off-road package is more a wheel cover package to make you have clearance to drive through, more rutted areas. The suspension already has pretty good clearance, this type of vehicle. But we can imagine, if you're going over rocks that are over 6 inches, or if you end up in some kind of deep rutted roads, that your wheel pants are going to not be happy. So the main goal is to get the wheel pants up a little higher. Secondary goal is more travel in the rear wheel. To be honest, we had engineering conversations on that 3-4 months ago, and we have put that to the side to focus on, startup production, productionizing suspension components, and we will have to circle back around to that. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't touch that till later this summer. That's just the nature of trying to get production quickly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, this is going to be our last question. Rex, you're welcome to ask. And at first, I just wanted to say congratulations on your new baby. I know Rex has a new addition, so saw that on Twitter. Congrats.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Well, actually, I think my question was mostly just answered on the suspension, but now since that's been kind of pushed off, will there be enough clearance around the suspension springs, struts, shock absorbers, however you want to call it, to fit an airbag in the future? Like 6 inches of diameter.
That is a good question. I do not think so, but there are other systems that can change your shock topology without it being a big airbag. So, I think we are looking at some of those systems, especially for the rear wheel. But I do not think airbag suspension in the front, at least. is a thing, just because everything's tight up there.
Yeah, I think. Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's take it home with Curtis.
We can do Keith. You can do
Yeah. Super quick one. I think most people assume this is the case. I just kind of wanted to get confirmation because it's not in the FAQ. OTA updates. Is that in the plan?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right.
That would be a quick one.
I own a Tesla, and it is great to have an update, every few months that really makes the vehicle just better. I don't understand how other automakers have taken so long, and Tesla's been doing it for how many years now?
Mm-hmm.
It just makes sense. Like, why wouldn't you do the air update? So yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We're almost through all the questions, so I can't leave without just letting our last one go. So Keith, why don't you head in and finish us out here? And thank you so much for your time.
Okay. It had to do with production. Have you thought about reaching out to high schools and things like that to find graduates who might want to come help with production, and then they go back home to their hometowns or whatever and be repair people for Aptera?
I can't say that we have. That does sound like a great idea. I know my boat company first did high school recruiting and did just that. We would get them into kind of boat tech education in high school and teach them a bit about boat production and boat repair, and then they'd come out of high school and have a job. I think that would be a great idea for Aptera.
Yeah. On the marketing side, we're definitely reaching out to colleges, engineering societies, women in engineering, a lot of those organizations to establish some partnerships to help us with recruiting and bringing on the best talent. So on the marketing side, we're working along those efforts. And we actually do even have some high school ambassadors, believe it or not. We have all ages of people who love Aptera. We are a movement that spans all ages, all walks of life, and we're very grateful that you are all a part of it. We thank you for your time today. We hope that you have enjoyed this session. We hope that you have a better feel for, who we are, where we're going, and we really look forward to working with you guys as we move ahead, get closer towards production. Thank you for all that you do, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.